Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Autopsy with Maddie P. My feet are kicking. You can't see them, they're kicking. I'm Maddie P, your host. Yes, I'm an alcoholic, you guys. Way to just bring it in hot, you know. I have been sober for 4 months, not 4 days, 4 months and 2 days, which is why I am starting this podcast. But don't get me wrong, I've got a lot of yapping to do in other areas. We're not just going to talk alcohol. We're going to talk womanhood, growth, maybe like some murders. What murder? Sorry, I just screamed at you. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to contain myself. I'm very excited. Anyhow, also, this first podcast, we're just getting to know each other, okay? I'm getting to know the Sony right here, and I'm no public speaker. So any filler words, we're going to excuse in this episode, and I will become easier to listen to over time. I promise I will. Anywho, yeah, welcome. I am 24 years old. I live in South Carolina, and as said before, I'm an alcoholic and addict. And I decided to start this podcast for a multitude of reasons. Ellie, my beautiful golden girl, is whining. Princess. She does not like the lights. I don't blame her. I don't either, honestly, right now, due to recent breakout. Anywho, I decided to start this because sobriety has become like a trending topic. Sober curiosity is a new word coming about where people are curious about sobriety and the benefits it does 100% bring. And a lot more people are finding that they're a piece of shit quicker, which I am absolutely loving. And I kind of like want to make what I learn in my alcoholism and my addiction to be accessible to others. Because for me, 4 months ago, when I gave up alcohol, it rocked my world. It fundamentally changed everything about myself and everything I do every day. And that's a lot different than just stopping drinking for physique or for mental health reasons, whatever your reason may be. And I think a lot of people would reap more of these benefits from getting rid of alcohol, because for me, alcohol is just a symptom of my mental, and what it boils down to is that like I hurt emotionally really deep, and I am not honestly as emotionally capable than a lot of people. And I understand the cards I'm dealt, so I have to focus on that in my life now to maintain my sobriety and make sure I'll never do the things I once did. And it has been the hardest decision I've ever made. So a lot of this too will be talking to other alcoholics, because there's nothing like sobriety, you guys. Like, I didn't think I was already going to be tearing up, but it's just kind of crazy to think that like 4 months ago, I was in so much pain. And here I am just trying to help others. And that's like kind of why I'm sitting here. I know people are like, how are you going to out yourself? Kind of, and the things you've done or you've experienced. And that's because, guys, I've been handed this gift. I've had to work really hard for it, really, really hard. And I'm only partway there. But I had to work for this gift, and I want to give it to others. This is like an insane thing. And the only way that I can maintain my sobriety as well is through helping others. So that's one of the reasons I'm starting this, but also I'm super early in my journey, guys. And I have been told that people with less time help people with less time, because it is very freshly engraved on my brain what it feels like to be an alcoholic and be an active alcoholism and addiction. It is etched in my soul for eternity. LOLs. But I just want to help others, like I said. So, and I genuinely think for some reason, I don't know why, but I am so strong. And I have gotten past a lot of the points people don't make it past. And that includes my emotional growth. I'm not talking about getting away from alcohol. I genuinely think I have experienced some incredible emotional growth. And I think that's because when I got clean, I did it myself. I wasn't forced to do it. And going into it originally, it wasn't going to be about getting rid of alcohol. It was going to be getting back into my meditation, being kind and gentle with others, caring about others, caring about myself, wanting to live. Basic things that other people already had, I realized I did not have. socially. And I wanted that back because I knew deep down who I was. And it was not this white girl, wasted girl hanging out on King Street all weekend. That is not who she is and what the world deserves of me. So I don't know where this muster of strength has come from, but I do think that it should be shared. And yeah, so here we are. And today we're just going to let me get used to this, like I said, and I'm going to share a little bit about my story. Why I'm here today, and we'll go from there, and it'll be less boring the next episode. And I hate prefaces, but a few things I like to add. I am not a doctor whatsoever. I have never gotten a degree from anywhere in my life except for high school, LOLs. Anyways, yeah, I am not at all. Do not listen to everything I say, first of all. Preface by that. And then the other thing, I'm sure some family members or people very close to me will be listening. This was a gift I was given, like I said. Through vulnerability is the reason that I'm able to sit here today, and the reason I've even made it this far. It was from other people being vulnerable with me and sharing their experience, strength, and hope through sobriety and through addiction. So I'm going to be vulnerable, and there may be some shocking bits in this that are like, what? But I'm here to help others. So judge me if you'd like. I don't care. That's not who I am anymore. Deal with it yourself. Love you. Bye. Also, there are going to be some parts that I'm going to hold on to just a little bit. I'm not going to share everything about myself. The world does not need to know everything. Anyways, the Chobani creamers are really good. I'm just putting y'all on. First things first. So, yeah, I guess I'll kind of jump into my story. I was raised in South Carolina. I have two amazing, capable, sweet, kind, patient parents who love each other and remain married happily to this day. And great siblings as well. I grew up very normal, but I did know from a young age that something was just not right with me. Honestly, probably chemically, but that's okay. And I feel like my story starts with food, which I know is kind of odd, but when I was like 9, 10, I was like a chubbier kid and I hadn't made friends yet. Later in my life, I realized that I wanted to be popular and I wanted to be liked, and I thinned out and I got really pretty. So that's a whole different segment and discussion on insecurity, but hello, knock on the door. Anyways, I struggled with food. It was all I had for a few years there, and I loved it. Every bite, like literally every single bite, I would savor my food. I would eat, like it was laid out how I would eat, what I would eat. And my mom was a granola mom, so like I had to really get my hands on what I could at that time. I wasn't into the quinoa shit we had going on. I wanted that Mackey D's up the street, period, point blank. And that's, I think, the first memory I recall of loneliness and of the pure despair that I am like tainted with and that I would soon walk around with up until still that I carry, my little sweet monster that's with me. And, I got older, as we do, and I was really, really curious about drugs and alcohol. But I knew that it wasn't normal for kids my age to even know what that was, kind of, but I was like, yo, what is that? What is that? So I had my first drink at like a young age. First puffs of things, younger age. I never got out of hand with using. It was all like experimental kid stuff. Nothing crazy happened. I'm sure I got, in trouble here and there. And as I got to high school, I grew up in the Zandemic, you guys. This was like, I'm fried. My brain is dead from drug use, honestly. But yeah, I was in high school during the Zandemic. We loved that. And where I lived, psychedelics were a really big deal. So I think that's when I kind of started to suffer in terms of a little bit of drug use, but I was in sports and I was pretty and I had stuff going on for myself. So it never really got too out of hand. I struggled with weight a lot. Still, another thing, weight followed me. Except for this time, we were starving. We were very, very hungry. We were not eating. To, of course, maintain our popularity and our physique and our beautifulness. Of course. What else would we do that for? What the fuck is wrong with people? Anywho, I don't know what's wrong with me, honestly. And I'm like openly sharing this information. But, so yeah, I get to college. Yes, I made it into college, actually. Thank you. These get degrees. And I was editing videos. You can go back on my YouTube and see, but I was editing a lot of videos and I was getting into music, that hashtag Miss Cash era, which actually this microphone is from the Miss Cash era. So I'm feeling quite at home today. And I was up and up and up. I did not really care about school, and I was taking a lot of Molly and some acid and some different things that I dabbled with. Again, this was a scenario where it was starting to get really, really out of hand. And I remember a few nights that were just really rough and scary for myself and my roommates, who were like normies that were like 19 and then were like, what the hell is wrong with you? Didn't understand what I was going through. Fair. And I moved to Florida. I drop out of college, of course. It was math, guys. It was math that did it to me. I hate math. It was this lady, actually, this algebra teacher. It was my own fault. I'm taking full accountability. I'm just saying it was math that really put me over the edge. That's what caused me to drop out, not drugs. So I drop out. I move to Florida. I meet a boy and I move to Florida, like most hellions, rebellious girls like myself do. Make our way down to the Florida sunshine. And there, actually, I think because of falling in love, I didn't really experience too much in terms of dabbling with alcohol and drugs. We used together, and it was like a casual recreational party thing, not like a dependent situation. We had severe codependence with each other, yes, but we're not going to get into that. And the end of our relationship comes, surely. Towards the end of Florida, I recognized that I can drink legally. I can buy as much alcohol as I want and drink it all. A revolution. A literal revolution. My roommates were like louder. No hate towards them. They were just louder, and I could not sleep, so I would drink in excess every single night towards the end there. And relationship came to a head. Relationship ends. I come back to South Carolina and I move in with my parents. Girl, let me tell you, Charleston, South Carolina, with their drugs and alcohol is redonkulous. Like the alcohol intake, it's like this culture down here is so fucked up, honestly. I'm part of my French, but that's like the only word to use. And of course, I get into food and beverage. I'm a server. I've always been a server due to my history of dropping out of things and inability to maintain a degree, obtain a degree. So get into food and bev, and that is a wicked scene here. Let me tell you. You know who introduced me to cocaine? A grown man in a bar with like many people were there. Anyways. So drink heavily on the beach all day. Then I go drink before work. We're at work, partying, having fun. Get off, go party some more. Started pretty innocent. Like I said, everyone, once again, we're being vulnerable. So if you don't want to hear this about your sweet Maddie that you know and love, go ahead and stop it now. Because girl, I was on that coke, honey. Honey, girlfriend, boo, friend, face. House down, boots, coke. I need to stop saying stuff like that. This is like serious, but everything is funny to me. So like I said, grown man introduced me to cocaine, and it got to a point where it wasn't cute anymore. Shit was not funny. I was eating cocaine constantly and was drinking a lot. Every day, minimum. And when I say drinking a lot, I mean every day, and then at that time, I'd say lunch on. I wasn't drinking during breakfast unless like we had brunch or whatever. And I got my hands on some Adderall, which I took Adderall in high school, prescribed. And I loved it. As a drug lover, as an upper lover, I absolutely loved Adderall. And I never touched it again after that. Like, I feel like we've moved almost out of the Xandemic into the Adderall demic. I feel like the drugs have switched over a little bit. Because now it's like resurfacing. Adderall use is super normal again. But for a while there, it wasn't. I didn't use it. Food and beverage, Charleston, South Carolina, 2024. We in a Adderall demic currently. And I started getting my hands on Adderall, and I was taking Adderall. And at this point, I was getting scared because I don't know how to put this in words that are non-revealing. There's just somebody in my life whom I love, that is close to me, that unfortunately has ended up in the world of different addiction, and it stems from Adderall. I happen to share blood with this person. I might bleep that out. So I knew, genetically speaking, that I don't need any assistance being awake. Let's put it there. I don't need any additional assistance on being alive. Thank you. And I started to get scared. Like I said, I was using it. Like, the reason I was using Adderall is because I would get so fucking hungover and sick from, and I'm talking like coke hangover, which is different than regular hangover. They're both atrocious, but coke hangover is like, you know, KMS style. Birds chirping and like the whole day following is just horrific. And I'd have to work, of course. Who's going to pay for the coke? And I would just be really sick. But when I took an Adderall, I could ace the shift. Like, murder my shift. Like I said, scary. I just want to say, if you have an Adderall prescription, like, be careful. I'm no doctor. I'm not going to tell you not to take it. But it is the gateway drug to, like, meth, crack. You don't want to end up a crack addict. You don't want to end up a meth addict. I promise. And that Adderall turns quick. And your tolerance to Adderall is nuts, y'all. Like, I was only using it for like 2 weeks. And by the end of those 2 weeks, I would start with like little segments of pills. I was always like take a little bit. You can't take it back, right? I had enough ego deaths in my music festival psychedelic life and had enough scarring from Molly that I would do a little bit and then take more. But by the end, it was like 2 Adderall to get me through a shift within 2 weeks. That's quick. That's like quick work. So I meet another boy. He has been clean for 2 years from drugs. And I share with him that I think I have an issue with drugs. And that I know, genetically speaking, I'm at a disposition. And that if I give in to drugs at this point, I'm a fucking dumbass because I know better. And I've seen the effects. And then I'm still going to go run to that thing. So I give up drugs. All drugs. No drugs for me. Due to history and drugs literally ruin you. Hello? I was getting nervous tics from cocaine. I would literally do this. Like at work. I wouldn't even be on it and I'd be doing that. And so I quit drugs. The year follows. Quitting drugs wasn't like impossible to me. This is like, and we'll get into other topics. With the cocaine, I will say, I did things in sequences. So like I quit drugs, then I quit alcohol. And cocaine was like the hardest absolute thing to quit, but the easiest at the same time. So I didn't think I could drink at all anymore if I wasn't using coke. I didn't think it was possible because, you know, I couldn't at that time. And it was super hard, super, super difficult getting over like that little hump of drinking without coke. But then once I did, it was almost like I'd never taken coke. Weird. But yeah, it was like I had never taken coke before and it was fine. I don't know why it was like that. And I've talked to my sponsor more and we're going to get like dive more into my addiction side of things because I kind of left a little bit of it in the dust because when I got into recovery, the focus of mine was alcohol. So we'll like get into other episodes and talk later about certain addiction, what that means. But for me personally, I know at the core I'm an alcoholic and with that comes addiction. But, you know, I'm not naive enough to fool myself. I am both an addict and an alcoholic, period, point blank. to pretty much anything. I've needed to coddle myself for my entire life, whether it be food, like we discussed, alcohol, drugs, sex. I need coddling. I have holes in my heart that I can't explain, and I suffer tremendously. Therefore, creating the symptom of alcoholism. Or the solution, we call it, So, quit drugs. That man ended up being a piece of shit, by the way. We'll get into that also later. Horrific man. Disgusting man. Anywho. But he does help me get off drugs. I do successfully get off drugs. Haven't touched cocaine or any drug since... It's been a few years that I haven't. Anyways, it's been a while. So, for that year... I drank hunty, drink the house down, drinking every day. And towards the end, it was getting really out of hand. And like looking back, I used to go to pick my car up from work because I'd have to leave it the night before. And instead of getting my car, I would go to the bar. And then I would need a ride home. I would leave my car at work for like literally days on end. Like so many blackouts. Like I don't even remember a lot of that year, for being honest. Like I really don't. Like this summer, I don't remember. It went by like that. These past 4 months have been so long, y'all. I don't even remember the summer. And towards the end of my drinking, I had developed yellowing in my eyes. And I didn't share this with others. Another shocking bit to those who love me. I wasn't able to walk correctly. I was like... I don't know how to explain it. It was like a tingling. I think maybe nerve damage. I'm not sure. I want to say maybe nerve damage. I'm not sure. But tingling sensation in my legs, and they would get like numb, and I wouldn't be able to use them like right. And if I drank enough, I wouldn't feel them anyway, so I'd be fine. This is where things spiral really very quickly. And suddenly I'm having a full dependence in terms of health. I'm now getting sick if I don't drink. And I just didn't realize, And this is why we have empathy with people. If you're not an alcoholic or not an addict, have empathy, because we don't know what we're doing sometimes. It's not my place to tell you that. I'm just saying, like, looking back, I just did not even realize, like, what I was doing to myself. I had no idea. And I was, like, so numb. I don't think I was a person anymore. It was kind of like I was becoming alcohol slowly. And I genuinely was. You could smell it on me, like seeping out of my pores. Like I was looking not right. I was not looking as a 24-year-old woman should look. And I decided to quit alcohol. I'm like, you know what? I don't know what it was. I woke up one morning, I feel like, and I remember I go to church every Sunday, and I had to get up for church. I had been drinking until like 4 o'clock, maybe the night before. And I got up just like, oh my God. But at this point I'm a pro at a hangover. Like I'm like in zombie mode till I can get back to bed. And so I get up, go to church, barely any sleep, reeking of alcohol, absolutely reeking. I had taken a shower, brushing my teeth. My skin and my pores were actually reeking of tequila at that point. I smelled like a bar. Constantly, a mini bar, walking through everywhere I went. And we went to lunch after church, and I wasn't gonna go, but I was like, I need to feel better, and I don't want to drink straight tequila shots right now because I'm gonna get really sick, and I'm not in the mood for that. So I decided to go to lunch with my family, not to go have lunch with them, but so I can get tanked on not tequila and I could feel better, because of course I had to work that evening as well. Go to the restaurant, get drunk, leave. Look at myself in the mirror. I just realized what was going on, I think. It just hit me. And I was like, what the fuck am I doing? What the fuck is going on? Go to a few meetings from there. Pour out all my alcohol. Decide quickly that I will only be not drinking until my sister's birthday. My sister and I are very close. I'm sure she'll be on the podcast. Decided not to drink till her birthday because I could not. I should have. And Okay, retrospect, people go to rehab, go to detoxes. I did not do this in a healthy way. I always will tell people, if you are suffering the way that I was suffering, I should have gone to detox and I should have gone to a recovery center. But that's okay. We're here where we are now. It was not healthy though. I was very sick, but I was trying to hide it. I don't know. It's crazy the way that we like genuinely think that we're hiding it. And it's so obvious. This could have been a lot easier, but I've always struggled with lying as well. We'll get into that. And I've just always been a chameleon. I covered up and I was what my parents and what everyone else wanted me to be. And as long as I hit those marks, to me, I didn't have a problem. I'm making it to work. I'm making it to church, and I'm seeing my family enough. I don't know, girl. Like, I don't know what to tell you. And it's hard, but we're here now, so it's okay. And don't make it to my sister's birthday. Make it about 20 days, maybe. And drink a lot. By the time it's my sister's birthday, this is like a week period, maybe 8 days or 10 days. I was up until 7 a.m. every night. Again, after not drinking for, I know, only 20 days. But that's a lot for an alcoholic. It really is. Like, that's intense. That's intense work for an alcoholic. And so I told myself before I started drinking again, if I can't control this, I 100% cannot talk myself out of being an alcoholic anymore. I just can't. And her birthday ends, and I'm like, oh yeah, girl, you have a serious issue, and you need to come clean to your family, and you need to get help. Family already knows it, but you need to go to them and say, I need help. I'm going to go get help, which I did. And the last time I drank, actually, if you want to get into this, the last time I consumed alcohol, I went to an AA meeting that day. I'm going to bleep out AA. I went to a meeting that day with someone who needed help. And I leave the meeting. It was a speaker meeting. Leave the meeting. Drive to a local bar next to my house. This is all like within a mile of my house. And I take like 5 shots of tequila. And it was like weird because in my heart of hearts, I knew this might be the last time that I ever consume alcohol. I hadn't even started my path, but like I said, because I've seen the effects of addiction and alcoholism before, I just knew it. It was so weird. And like, honestly, that night wasn't painful. Every other night I experienced with alcohol, so many of them were painful. And like, I had my fun, of course, but this one wasn't painful. I was completely alone, came home alone. Drank at the bar alone. Funny because the bartender is actually somebody I knew. Oddly enough, of course. And I wasn't lonely. It was like this, like, kind of like this weird bliss where I was like letting it take me over one last time. It was like the last kiss. That last farewell is what it felt like. And that was it. From there forward, I realized I had a problem and I got help. And here I am today. And realizing that, and I think when you look at yourself in the mirror a certain way and you see what you've made of yourself, you've seen what you become, like you can't turn away from that again the same. I've looked at myself in the mirror a certain way and I can't go back. It's not possible. I've seen it. And I don't want that disaster in my life, obviously. And I know how quickly I could become that girl. Lying, cheating, drinking, using. And I think like the way that my alcoholic monster looked, she was just a little girl. She was literally just a little girl. I was just a little girl. And like, this is funny, but I lived with my parents, and like during parts of it, I'd be like, I just want my mommy. Like, I just want to go home. But I was home and I lived with my parents and I can go hug her whenever I wanted. And I don't know how to explain that pain, but I feel like someone will understand exactly what I meant when I just said that. So I'm going to leave that there. And yeah, I decided to get help. When I just made that decision, it was also for the well-being I mean, there are so many reasons I made that decision that like we can just get into at a different time. But it was like also about, I was always a curious and really crafty and creative young girl. I was always smart in a different way. And that part that I knew to exist in me was actually fading. So I wasn't curious anymore. I wasn't creative. And I wasn't utilizing the best parts of who I was. And during this time, y'all, when I was in addiction, I would call my ex-boyfriend, the one from Florida. And I don't know why. I just would, I just wanted to bother somebody. Like, I just wanted to like talk to a boy, I guess. I don't know. And he said to me, Maddie, you're not the person that like I knew. And I was like, what the fuck? I'm standing right here. I am. The fuck? I was not. And like looking back to that kind of like opened my eyes. I don't know why. Him saying that just like, I was like, fuck, I'm not. So yeah, everything just came to a head. And like I realized what I had done and who I had become. And I knew I deserved so much more. And I really just needed a diagnosis. And once I understood fully that I was an addict, I was an alcoholic, I realized that, okay, now my full perspective has to change. The way I look at life, the way I look at everything, who I am, we're fundamentally changing. And if that takes me going back to where I was mentally as a 6-year-old to recover what I've done to myself, then that's what it takes. And that's kind of what it took. I have to go back to parts of me all the time that I forget even existed. That's a really hard part of alcoholism too, is that you don't even remember some of the shit that you've done or had happened to you, and genuinely makes you look at the world different. Some of the things that literally changed my thinking, I couldn't even remember until a few months into sobriety and things started to become more clear to me. And putting down that bottle was like, normies don't get this, but like, it's like losing your best friend. And I was so petrified and scared. I have like a close friend of mine, and I was just bawling my eyes out to this person. Like, I don't know who I am without it. Like, scared, genuinely scared. Like, I don't even know if I can do that. And somehow I made it. I did 90 meetings in 90 days. I'm so happy. Sorry guys, my camera died. That was really annoying and upsetting. But that's all I have for you this week. Just wanted to share a little bit about myself. Recovery is possible, guys. I'm very proud of how far I've come, and I'm only a little way through. If you're curious about what sobriety can do for you from a mental health standpoint, it will move mountains. It will tremendously change your life and really help you see what and who you are deep down and what you want out of this life. And obviously, if you're suffering on a deeper level, you're experiencing active alcoholism, active addiction, all of my platforms will be up here. Please reach out to me if you need help, please. And, take that chance. All it takes is a little bit of strength to step in recovery. We've got you on the rest. You can borrow some of my strength anytime. I'm dishing it out. Y'all can borrow some. But yeah, next week we'll kind of get more into some deeper levels of alcoholism, of emotional growth. And I can't wait to share everything with you guys. I love you, and I'm proud of you for even listening to this, because you can do it. If my crazy ass did it, so can you. I love you. We'll see you next week.